Good evening, Bahamas. This is NB12 broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Here's what's making news tonight. After a lengthy trial, Stephen Stubbs sentenced to prison. 2 men charged with murdering a man this week. All schools in the capital back in session on Monday. Traffic police tell us what to expect. Plus, friends and family gather for the funeral of Leroy Duke Hanna. Those stories and much more on the way. I'm Nakia DeVoe, and NB12 starts right now. Thanks again for joining us here at NB12. A magistrate handing down a ruling today in the high-profile drug case of Stephen Stubbs. Stubbs and his co-accused were convicted of drug-related charges in connection with the importation of thousands of pounds of marijuana and sentenced to prison terms. Our Charisma Robinson reports.
Heavily armed police officers were out in large numbers guarding the Nassau Street complex this morning, where 37-year-old Stephen Stubbs was sentenced to serve 4 years in prison. Stubbs and his co-accused Dion Buju Minnis and Selva Hudson appeared before Deputy Chief Magistrate Carolita Bethel. The men were arrested along with David Colebrook in September 2009 in connection with the seizure of 3,995 pounds of marijuana in Exuma. Colebrook has since vanished, though he was being tracked by a GPS-enabled ankle bracelet. The men were convicted of conspiring to import and possess dangerous drugs with the intent to supply. Evidence in the trial revealed that the drugs came from Jamaica and was dropped off in Exuma on September 30th. However, the men maintain that they had nothing to do with the drug matter. There were a few obstacles to today's proceedings. Bethel had to adjourn the matter repeatedly after Stubbs denied he had a previous drug conviction that was listed on the court's records. Records were then brought into court confirming that he was convicted and sentenced to serve 15 months at Her Majesty's prisons in 1998 for possession of drugs with intent to supply. Stubbs, however, still denied that conviction. Bethel then proceeded to hear from attorneys representing the men. Director of Public Prosecutions Vanette Graham Allen and Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Franklin Williams represented the Crown. Muriel Ducille represented Stubbs, while Dion Smith and Ian Cargill represented Minnis and Hudson. In his submissions, Ducille asked Bethel to consider the fact that Stubbs' last conviction was 14 years ago. He insisted that his client be treated as any other person who comes before the court would be treated. Bethel told the men that she took into consideration previous convictions, the roles they played in the matter, and the quantity of drugs seized. Along with being sentenced to 4 years in prison, Stubbs will also have to pay a $50,000 fine. If he doesn't pay that fine, he will have to serve an additional year in prison. Minnis was sentenced to the maximum of 5 years, while Hudson was sentenced to 3 years. Following today's sentencing, the men were escorted outside of court by heavily armed officers who would not allow our cameras to get a shot of them.
Now attorneys for the convicted men say they will appeal their clients' sentences. Reporting for NB12, I'm Charisma Robinson.
2 men in their 20s were remanded to Her Majesty's prison today, charged in connection with the murder of Owen Hanna. The 51-year-old was shot on Wednesday during an argument with another man at a home off Sumner Drive, Redland Acres. 22-year-old Hastings McQueen and 24-year-old Javon Davis appeared before Chief Magistrate Roger Gomez. McQueen was charged with murder and Davis with abetment to murder and being an accessory after the fact. The men were remanded to prison until December 7th, when a voluntary bill of indictment will be served and their case will be fast-tracked to the Supreme Court. Well, investigators may have their first sign of a victim of the human smuggling operation that led to the grounding of a Haitian sloop off Andros over the weekend. Police have confirmed that the body of a man was found in waters near Mangrove Key yesterday. Officer in charge of the South Andros District, Inspector Adrian Knowles, told our news team that the body was pulled from waters around 3 p.m. as it appears the victim drowned. The man, claiming to be the captain of that vessel, told immigration officials that several people jumped overboard and some drowned when the sloop began to experience problems. No bodies were recovered in the immediate aftermath of the discovery of the sloop and Haitian immigrants on board. Well, in other news, the beginning of a new school year means an increase in traffic across the island. For the past few years, the New Providence Road Improvement Project has made the problem worse. Schools are back in session on Monday. Head of the Police Traffic Division, Superintendent Ken Strawn, says that with a significant portion of the roadwork finished, officers expect a much smoother morning commute at the opening of this school year. Our Jasmine Bonamy has more in this report.
Traffic officers are expected to double their efforts come Monday morning, with officers heading out as early as 5 a.m. to busy roadways and intersections across the island. Every year, local motorists dread the back-to-school traffic rush, and like last year, many roads are currently under construction. It's all a side product of the New Providence Road Improvement Project. Once again, the potential traffic nightmare has prompted the Royal Bahamas Police Force to come up with a comprehensive plan to tackle back-to-school traffic. Superintendent Strawn says considering there are fewer roadworks being carried out this year, officers expect traffic will be much smoother.
It's Monday morning, 3rd of September is upon us. The officers from the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and particularly the officers assigned to the Traffic Division, in the advanced stages of preparation for the anticipated traffic on our streets for the opening of the school period.
Works officials revealed on Wednesday that of the 15.7 miles of roadworks within the project, 7.2 miles have been coated with the first layer of asphalt. With a considerable amount of roadwork still being carried out, Superintendent Strawn says the expected problem areas will be eastern and southern New Providence. Strawn says special focus will be placed on the Prince Charles Drive and Soldier Road intersections, as well as the Prince Charles Drive and Fox Hill Road intersections where traffic lights have yet to be installed.
We are pretty optimistic through the efforts of the Ministry of Works, its contractors, as well as other agencies, that the main arteries that have been impacted by the roadworks will, for the most part, be ready to take on the anticipated volume of traffic on our streets. Prince Charles Drive, along with Robinson Road, are in the final stages of asphalt being placed, as well as Wolf Road between Soldier Road and that area of the roundabout at Marathon Road. Final preparatory works are taking place to ensure that those arteries are open to facilitate the flow of traffic.
While he says a number of traffic management strategies will be launched in the east, Superintendent Strawn says the number of traffic officers will be doubled.
We can safely say that we are confident that the works that have been carried out on Blue Hill Roads, Market Street, along with the southern section of Blue Hill Road, and further along the East Bay Street arteries have caused us to be able to shift our resources a bit from static to having just actual patrols along those strips, because we anticipate a free movement of traffic.
And as always, traffic officials are encouraging motorists to head out as early as possible to avoid traffic jams later in the morning. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.